So I began recording. I will begin by stating the town hall ground rules before we begin. As I said before, please mute your microphones while the presentation is taking place. We will have the opportunity to ask you questions, and you can post your question either through the chat at the end of the presentation, or we will ask you to mute your mic and ask the question to the panelists. As I said, panelists will take the questions after the presentation. Be respectful while communicating through your microphones and the chat. If you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand and the moderator will call your name and ask you to unmute your microphone and state your question. David Rose is our moderator for today. If you would like to ask a question and don't want to use your microphone, you can use the chat function of this session. Please keep in mind that all participants can see the text messages in the chat, and we urge you not to share personal information, to keep your information private. Moderators of the town hall reserve the right to remove participants who do not abide by these rules. So we already established the town hall rules. We will introduce the panelists next, and the agenda consists of the credit, no credit option, how we will explain that. We will have the financial aid implications, the preclinical information related to the credit and no credit option. We will show you how to opt in, and we will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Among the panelists today, we have Dr. Gail Baxter, the Director of the Student Financial Services, Dr. Phil Gimber, the Health Science Department Chair, Vanessa Gonzalez, the Director of the Advisement Services Office, Daniel Diaz, Director of International Student Services, Matthew Eckhoff, Director of ASA Program, Julian Salazar, Director of the College Discovery Program, Derward Duncan, Associate Director of the Office of the Registrar. I will ask the Director of the Student Advisement Services Office, Vanessa Gonzalez, to begin with her part of the presentation.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So I have a few slides that I just want to go over briefly. So the top 5 for students. The credit, no credit option is your choice. It's not the faculty. It's not your friends. It's your choice. It's not the advisors either. You have to opt in via your CUNY First account within 20 business days. So the deadline for session 1 is on January 24th, which is 4 days away. And the deadline for fall session 2 is March 25th. The credit, no credit option could be applied to one course, some, all, or none. And the grades are graded for fall 2020 semester. There are exclusions to this for the credit, no credit for those who are in the clinical phase of the health science programs, and the courses are listed there. Before you decide, you should speak to an advisor. Things to consider are the GPA impact and the future admissions into health science programs, or if you're transferring to other schools or considering grad school in the future. And once you choose to convert your grade to credit or no credit, the decision is final. You cannot go back and change your grade. Next slide, please. Thank you. So here's the timeline, as I mentioned earlier. So there were dates that happened in December regarding the withdrawal, the class due dates, and when did the opt-in begin. But it's important to recognize that January 24th is the last day to opt in for fall session 1. For session 2, the withdrawal deadline is February 14th. The grades from the faculty are due on the 26th, and you could begin choosing whether to opt in on the 27th, and then the deadline is March 25th. And again, 20 business days from when the university final grade is submitted, and this decision is irreversible.
Thank you, Vanessa. We will proceed now with Gail Baxter, Director of Financial Aid. Gail, can you please unmute yourself?
Okay, good afternoon. When I speak about federal programs, I am talking about the Pell Program, the Federal Work Study Program, the Supplemental Educational Program, which is also called SCOG, and direct student loans. So under federal programs, there is a requirement that students maintain satisfactory academic progress to receive federal aid. Students must successfully complete their courses and meet the minimum GPA requirements established by the college based on the number of credits attempted. So under the Federal CARES Act, courses with NC or CR, no credit or credit grades in the spring 2020 semester were excluded from the SAT calculation. So this has been extended to the fall 20 term. So students who opt in for no credit or credit, those courses will be excluded from the calculation at the end of the spring semester. We will not count those courses in the calculation. Of note, students who are not meeting the requirements currently and have grades of W, WA, WD, or WU will need to submit a financial aid appeal and provide documentation that it was a direct result of COVID-19. Students can file an appeal now for spring 21. The deadline is March 12th, and students must meet with their academic advisors to create a plan to ensure they will meet the standards by the end of the spring term. Next slide. On the state aid programs, are Tuition Assistance Program, also known as TAP, or Excelsior, or the New York State part-time programs. New York State has not yet determined that students certified by the college for fall 20 will not suffer negative consequences regarding their current or future awards, unfortunately. So the use of COVID-19 financial aid documentation for fall 20 is still pending with the New York State Higher Ed Services Corporation. We are waiting on their guidance at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. And we will proceed now with our next panelist, Phil Gilbert from the Natural Science Department.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing today? So for our piece, what we really just want to go over is when you are in the candidacy phase, which means that you're in a competitive major, of course, you want to get the highest grade possible, right? So I know everybody knows that, you know, for example, if we have, let's say 60 seats available in nursing for a semester and 80 people apply, based on your GPA and key courses, those top 60 get in. So that said, you want to know how your choices will affect you getting in. So of course, what we really recommend is get the highest grade you can and take your grade. Now, if you fall into where you're thinking about taking a credit or no credit, just be aware that if you take a credit grade, when we calculate your candidacy, it counts as a C for the purposes of candidacy. So even on your transcript, you don't see a grade. For us, it will be a credit. It will be a C grade. For the other piece, if you take a no credit grade, that basically counts really as an F, and you have to retake the course. So, and the piece what a lot of people ask is, well, what if I take it again? What if I get a credit grade and I repeat it? Of course, you have to get permission from the department. So if you're taking English class again, you have to get permission. But we do average grades together. So if you have an F grade and an A grade together, it still averages to a C when we calculate the two together. So again, I mean, what you really want to focus on is the first time you take your course is to get the highest grade. And if you get an A or a B, take your grade. Don't pick credit because you'll actually lower your grade, but because when you take a credit grade, it will go down to a C for candidacy purposes. I think that covers my end.
All right, thank you, Phil. The next panelist is Derwin Dunkins from Registrar Office, and he will show us how to opt in.
So good afternoon, everyone. So after you've spoken to financial aid, after you've spoken to your advisor, after you've spoken to the department, then it gets down to the mechanics of how you actually opt in, and it's real simple, it's real intuitive. You know, CUNY has made it as simple as they could. And so the first step that you're going to do is you're going to go to the cunifirst.cuny.edu website, right? You're going to log into CUNY First, and then you're going to go to your student center. And what you see on the screen right now is a snapshot of what the student center looks like when you first enter. And then on the left, highlighted by the highlighted and the red arrow, you'll see the option to view grades, right? And so you just go ahead and you click on that. Next slide, please, David. And so after clicking on view grades, it'll take you to this page, and it'll list all the classes that you were enrolled in for this session for which you received a grade, right? And on the right, there's the drop down box, and from there you can pick the option to opt in for CR or NC. Just remember that if you're in a class that's not deemed eligible, right, you won't see an option. So, you know, as Dr. Gimber mentioned, the clinical courses and courses that you receive a grade of A or A minus are also not eligible, right? So if you don't see a drop down, if you don't see an option for those kinds of courses, just bear that in mind, that's the reason why those courses are not eligible. All right, so you just go ahead and you may select 1, 2, 3, or all of your classes. You may opt in as long as they're eligible, as I mentioned. You know, failing grades, you can only select NC, while passing grades, with the exception of A and A minus, you can select the NC option, the CR option, I'm sorry. So you go ahead, you select which courses you want to opt in for, and then you click the submit button at the end. All right, and just review the grades, right? It'll pop up showing that it's been changed. Just review your grades, review your GPA. You know, contact your advisor if you have any questions. If any kind of systematic error pops up, so if you get an error message saying, you know, the transaction couldn't be completed, that kind of a message, then contact us in the registrar's office, and we'll be giving you the contact information at the end. The email is simple: registrar@lagcc.cuny.edu. We'll also give that to you at the end. So, you know, if you're having any issues, just contact us right away. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Derwin, and thank you to all the panelists for their presentation. We are opening now the section for questions. If any of the participants would like to post a question either in the chat, or if they wanted to ask the questions themselves, you can raise your hand through the raising hands feature, or you can paste your question in the chat.
David H. asked how to access this recording because they missed the beginning of it.
We will be recording this session, and we will be actually sending this recording to all the students, and it will also will be posted in My La Guardia into the resource section. Is there any other question? Yes, David, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hi, I have a question about if I want to talk to someone about the way a course is run during the pandemic. Is there?
Are you referring to a particular field or?
A particular class in which I, as a student, feel like the workload is kind of untenable for most of the students, especially given the anxiety level given everything that's going on right now. If I want to bring this up with someone,
Yes. So what I will do is I'm going to post, give you my email address so that we can get into more specifics. And I will make sure to share that information with the chair of that department. That will
Normally
be
you
the
go to
course of
chair
action.
or the ombudsman, sure.
Yes. So I'm going to write my email address so that I can get more information. Please email me the details of the class and what the concerns are, and I will make sure to take it to the right and appropriate channel.
thank you. I appreciate it. And so you're putting that in the chat?
Yes, right now.
Thank you.
If anyone else has any specific questions, you can raise your hand by clicking the raise hand button, or you can type it into chat and we'll answer it. Could we see the class list for classes that are exempt from the CRNC?
It's mostly classes that are within the health science major. Like if you're going to clinical, if you're going to hospitals and things, if you're in that phase, those are the ones that are exempted as a standard general overview, but there is a specific list.
And the list of the courses is here in bullet number 3 in this slide right now.
So it's not the preclinical phase, it's only the clinical phase that have excluded courses. And this is really, and the reasoning is, if you're wondering, it's really that there are requirements in basically from when you begin and end a clinical program, it has to be done within a certain amount of time. So that's why we had to exclude that for those courses.
Do we have any other question?
Can I just add something real quick, Ramon?
Sure.
Right. So if if any of you are scheduled to graduate after fall 2, just remember, due to the deadline, we it'll take a little bit of time to process your session 2 graduation. But if you opt in sooner rather than later, and you've decided that you are going to opt in, or you decided that you're not, then please reach out to us so that we know. There's a form that you can sign saying, I'm not going to participate in the CRNC opt-in for session 2, and then you give us permission to go ahead and graduate you in advance of the CRNC deadline. All right, so just keep that in mind if you're scheduled to graduate at the end of session 2.
Thank you, Darwin. And that's a very important information, especially for students who are planning to start their next semester in another institution at the end of this month. Dave has a question in the chat. What is the deadline to drop a class if needed? And where do I do this?
Hi, so the deadline to drop a class for session 2 has already passed. So if you're talking about withdrawing from a course, I believe I mentioned it's February 14th as the deadline. But to drop it, that has since passed. And you would, to withdraw, you would also go to, yes, so the withdrawal deadline, thank you, Ramon, is February 14th. You would go to CUNY first to submit your official withdrawal to a course, similar to where you would go for credit, no credit.
Thank you, Vanessa. Does anybody else have any other question? Since nobody else have any other question, is there anything that the panelists would like to add before I stop recording? Since I'm going to be sharing this recording anyway with the students, the rest of the students that were not able to make it today. If there is anything that we missed to cover during the session, please share it now so that we can start the recording. I will not want to. I don't want to keep the panelists here for the rest of the session if we don't have active participants. But we will make sure to share this video recording with everybody else who wasn't able to attend.
I have just one comment. For those students that are here, if you have not yet enrolled for classes for spring 2021, please do so. You can meet with an advisor. We're offering drop-in Tuesdays as well as late afternoons on Thursdays for the next week. And we're also offering both Tuesday and Wednesday drop-in throughout the month of February. But if you have not yet decided about spring 2021, please do so as classes are filling, and we want to make sure that you're guaranteed a seat in the classes that you need. And you can visit our website at thelaguardia.edu/advising to set up a drop-in appointment, or you can meet with your own advisor via your My LaGuardia page.
Thank you, Vanessa. As a final, if there is no other question, any other statement or recommendation by the panelists, I just want to leave as the last slide all the contact information from the panelists in case that you have any questions regarding ASAP, College Discovery, Health Science, International Student Services, the Registrar Office, the Student Advisement Services, with Student Financial Services. In addition,
yes, hello.
Hello.
Yes. I just want to ask a question. The asynchronous?
Asynchronous, yes.
Right. Classes and synchronous classes. What's the difference between the two? And does that affect that no credit program that you talk about?
Okay, so synchronous means that all of the students come to a session at the same time on an identified time by the professor, where you will come and join a live session with the professor and the rest of the student. Asynchronous means that the professor have identified assignments and due dates when they need to be submitted for his or her consideration and grading. And the style of the class do not determine, does not have any effect regarding the credit or no credit option. The credit and no credit option is applicable for all classes offered during the fall semester, with the exception of those classes identified in one of the previous slides. Let me go back. And they are related to the pre-candidacy process. So they're all identified in the bullet number 3 in the slide that I'm displaying on the screen at the moment. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you go back to the last slide just for a sec?
Sure. As the last link in that slide is all the resources related, and the rest of the there's a Q&A component of the website where you can get a lot of different answers related to opting or not opting in. The rule of thumb with this, as Burhan described in the last session, is that if you got an F, it is at your best interest, is the best course of action to just select no credit. For any other option, if you got a D or if you got any other grade, that have a conversation with your academic advisor to make sure that you make the right decision, and that if you have any question, it get answered. But if you got an F, take the no credit. At this point, there's nothing to lose. Is there any final questions, any final comments?
Yes, will
Yes.
it be time enough to do so? With the professors, they'll post the grade, or how would you know that the grade is, what your grade is going to be, so you can make this decision?
You, for session, let me go back to that slide.
For section 2.
For session 2, the deadline to, the grades are due on February 26th. That's when all the grades will be submitted by the faculty.
Oh, I'm
And,
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. That's
Yes.
session 2. It's the spring in
Oh,
March. That's why it's in March. Yes, that's
No,
when
we don't
will
have any
start.
information yet about a spring semester. And all the information that we give in the students at the moment is related to the fall 1 and fall session 2.
Oh, so that means that they could just stop it altogether.
We don't have any information regarding that at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Unless, I mean, Burhan or Derwin, have we heard anything about that? I haven't at the moment.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Derwin, have you heard
Yes.
have you heard anything about extending the credit or no credit option for the spring semester?
Right. So it most likely will not be done at the university level. So, you know, it's gonna be really kind of up to each individual college of whether they want to do that. I think there are preliminary talks, but nothing concrete yet has
Yes.
been decided.
No, I'm talking about LaGuardia.
No,
Right.
but
Right.
This is Bart.
Hi, Bart.
Yes, it's being left up to local to the colleges to redefine their policies on this. So right now, this is a conversation that's happening on every campus, including LaGuardia.
And once we have come up with a decision regarding that, we will make sure to communicate that with all the students.
Okay, thank you. Great.
Is there any other question? Right. So thank you to the panelists. I'm going to stop the recording right now, but I will stay in this session all the way until 1 o'clock to make sure that if we have any latecomers, I can still answer any of the question or direct them to the appropriate office. So let me stop sharing and stop the recording as well.
Thank you all.
Thank you.